Uh, Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Elad has 30 years of experience in space industry. He served as a system engineer for communications satellites and chief system engineer for various remote sensing satellites. The floor is yours, Elad.
Thank you so much. So, hello, good morning. It's a really pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be asked to represent the Israeli Space Agency in this very, very amazing convention. Um, we will try to take a look at the Israeli Space Agency and its similarity to what is happening here in Latvia. We want to see how a small agency is capable with very small budget, and our space agency is part of the Israeli Ministry of Technology and Innovation, and as such, it's very similar to what's happening here, and we'll take a look at how, through the years, we managed to create, with the Israeli Space Agency, we managed to create a real ecosystem in Israel to do various stuff. So, we start with this slide. This slide shows all the satellites that the Israeli Space Agency has launched, or Israeli has launched through the years. Now, what is interesting is you can see that in this slide, it has many satellites, but most of them are actually defense satellites. Very few of them are coming from the civilian industry. And this is because we have a very big, in Israel, we have a very big defense industry that deals with space, and a very small civilian, which has a very small funding. And even though the funding is very small, we still manage to do quite a bit of work. And we're going to talk about a few examples of how we work in this environment and how we create opportunities in research, in industry, and in education. So, our goals as a space agency are, we want to support the space industry. We want to create an ecosystem in Israel which will allow to develop more and more and more companies. We want to promote the exploration of space. We want to see how can we research and technology, how can we develop them in Israel? How can we have them a bigger research? And progress education. We want to see how can we bring young kids into this world of space education and showing them what is space and giving them an horizon to go to something that they can, a goal that they can look into the future and say, okay, this is something that I really want to do. So we reach them at the levels of kindergarten, of elementary school, high school. And our last but not least is international collaboration. A lot can be achieved through international collaboration. As a space agency, you can join other space agencies and you can do a lot of work which is very interesting for your own country to enhance its capabilities through those collaborations. So let's see a few examples of this. So this is just to show you a few of the space agencies that we have been working together for the last few decades. Of course, there is NASA. Yes, NASA is always there, as is ESA, but it's interesting not only to see, of course, the European, Canadian space agencies, but also lately we have, through collaboration with the Arab nations, we have signed a collaboration with the UAE Space Agency, and this helps creating a bridge between countries and between people. The first program, Venus. Venus is a program which was created between the Israeli Space Agency and CNES, the French Space Agency. And this program was designed to do environmental research. It was the first of its kind with its multispectral imager, which was at the day really front-end technology, which was developed by Elbit, by ELOP, a subsidiary of Elbit. And this opportunity between Israel Space Agency and the French Space Agency allowed us to do a few of the goals that we showed in the first slide. And the first thing was, how can we put in the Israelis' industry? So the bus of the satellite with all its subsystems was built by the Israeli aerospace industry. The propulsion system was built by Rafael, and the telescope was built by ELOP. And so this was a way of bringing work to the Israeli space industries. Another part of it was academy. All the research was done in Israel by the Ben Gurion University, by Professor Carnielli in Sde Boker, which was actually the PI for the program. So also the academy was gaining from this program something that they could advance their education. And this just shows how with one program you could actually achieve more than one goal. You can actually achieve 2 and 3 goals that you intend to as a small space agency. Another program, which is just now being created, is Ultrasat. Ultrasat is a really wide field viewing telescope. It actually allows us to take big images of space. It will be located in geostationary orbit, watching in deep space, taking a look there what's happening in space. And through that telescope, we will be able to identify the beginning of a supernova or black hole. We could definitely identify, start to see something happening, and then take those high-resolution telescope to point them at those events. And this is, again, a collaboration between the Israeli Space Agency and NASA, but we have here researchers like Weizmann Institute, who is a PI, and ELOP, which are doing the payload, the imager, and Israeli Aerospace Industry, which is building the satellite itself. But it's not always just big satellites. Sometimes you have to take a startup and catch it at its early stages. For example, the Ramon chips is a very good example. It was originally called Ramon's chips. It started at the Technion University by a professor called Ran Ginosar. And the Israeli Space Agency has been funding him from the beginning. And slowly but surely, they advanced. And today they're called Ramon Space. They are actually providing hardened chips for the missions, ESA missions, JAXA missions, NASA missions. They have actually reached a very high level of maturity. And this is just an example how you can start by slowly funding something that would come out of the university and then allow it to become a full-fledged company. Another example is Helios. Helios is creating oxygen from the regolith of the moon. They actually started by doing green metal in Israel, and they advanced the technology to extracting oxygen, which is something that we really needed for 2 reasons. We needed to sustain living on the moon, and we needed also for our fuel for our rockets. So this is something that we were supporting, and we are so happy to continue. Next one is JUICE. JUICE is just being launched, and JUICE has a ultra-stable oscillator clock, which has been provided by Acubit. Acubit has been working on this clock for a very long time, but it has never been actually for space. It has always been for military purposes, defense purposes, and now they took it and brought it into space. There's a collaboration between the Israeli Space Agency and the Italian Space Agency in providing this ultra-stable clock, which is now on the way to Jupiter and will provide a lot of information with the Weizmann Institute. Bereshit, let's talk a second about Bereshit. Bereshit is a very interesting program because it didn't start from an industry, it didn't start from a startup. It started actually from a non-profit organization for 3 guys that decided they wanted to join the Google Lunar X Prize. And they went ahead and they went into the competition, and they started developing, and the Israeli Space Agency has helped them in getting there and funding them. But they also did more. They, as a non-profit organization, they did not only build the satellite or the spacecraft, but they also did a lot of education and taught new kids how to look at a space as something that is achievable. We are now going towards the Bereshit 2 mission, which is our second one, which is going to have 2 landers and 1 orbiter, and it's again doing much more in order to promote research. Rakia mission. This is a nice example of Eitan Stiva, who is a private entrepreneur, decided that he wants to go to space and become an astronaut, and he became a tourist. But he said that he wanted to do some research. He wants to do some education in space. So Israel Space Agency managed to fund a few of the experiments. And one of them was create lens by fluid. Another one was with the brain EEG activity that he had on his space, which Maya will talk more about it later in her presentation. We do a lot of education, and this is where we bring the future of the kids into the world of space. We do it through a program called Tevel, which is high school students building satellites. They're actually building their satellite. They are building a satellite. It's not something that somebody in the industry is building. They are building the satellites. They are developing it. They're getting all the hardware from us. And we did this through 8 different places in Israel, municipalities. All 8 satellites were launched to space. All 8 satellites are now orbiting and fully operational in space today as we speak. We started now the Tevel 2 program, which is 7 new municipalities that will be building their satellites and bringing kids into this world of space. We also have the Olympics, which is the Space Olympics. It's a program in which we do a competition between high school, and we expose them at the elementary and at middle school to the world of space. So we have programs for elementary, middle school, and the Tevel for high school level. Last but not least, I would like to finish on something positive and tell you, unfortunately, we lost Ilan Ramon, our first Israeli astronaut. But after the Columbia crash, Rona Ramon started the Ramon Conference, and we every year during the first week of February, the last week of January, we have the Ilan Ramon Conference, in which we would like to invite all of you to come and join us in Israel and join us in this amazing conference, which we do every year. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate very much your time and any questions or?
Thank you, Elad.
No? So
thank you so much. I would like to say for Latvia as a small country, Israel with all the internal and external challenges is still a good example how very ambitious goals and step by step can actually lead you into being active part of the space industry and actually contributing to the whole of the country. So thank you very much. Please grab Elad when he's around, talk to him, tell him shalom, and he will tell you everything. Okay? Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you, Elad. Thank you.